Yo. Well, Professor Pippage back in trying to get active again. Back at the agent session. Currently looking at looking at AUDUSD. Trying to get my structures identified, get everything cracking and ready to go. We did have a short position open from over here in New York session yesterday. I had stops right above here. That move got stopped out. But I did manage to find a re-entry later on within the Asian session. The original shorts were from right over here. I think stops with something like this. Targeting right out here with several TP take profit levels in between. And then once I had the trailing stops right above this NY high. So I didn't let stops run all the way up there. Trailing stops, something like that. So I got hit right up there for about let's see over here. 11 pips. 11 pips on stop loss. But then what had happened was came back to the charts. I saw that excuse me, hold on. Came back to the charts. I saw that price action only manipulated those highs. We pushed above right over here. That's what I had the stops according to right over here. We pushed above and then we pulled back and then we tried to push above again and failed to break that high. But we did break that high. And then once I saw this candle start to break the low, right over on 15, we did take another shot. Something like this. And then I was cautious because I knew this move happened. So I said, okay, well, if it push back bully again, then we got even tighter stops than we had last night. And I was targeting way down there. I can see it better on the higher time frame. Right up in here. And what happened was, so first action melt, done the NY. As it came down and made this low, I was looking for that low to be broken to tell me if it was going to continue. So once I saw this big ass wick from downside, so price action pulled back and then fell to break that wick. Once we came down and created this wick, I trailed the stops right there, automatic on this short position. And at that point, price action about trailing stops about 20 pips away from the entry, had already pushed a good 45 pips from entry. And yeah, once it came back down, didn't break this low. So price action didn't break this low. I trailed them again, and I got tapped right over there. But once we came down and hit this wick, I took off some profits, and that's what it was. So tonight, going into the Asian session, we had a win over here and a small loss over here, and then a pretty big win right over here. So a little bit. Let's see. Yeah. Looking at about, I wouldn't say 2-1 because the risk over here was nowhere near the risk over here on these two. So, all right. So we're looking at, we got a 4-hour structure. I'm coming back down. We created a support right here on the 1-hour chart. And price action is pushing bullish from that support. So what I'm looking for is to see what price action is going to do from what price action is going to do when it gets back to the zone where it pushed away from at the 1-hour support. See if we break above those highs. We do have the 4-hour resistance right behind that, but price action is bullish, so it's a good opportunity that all kinds of scratching every 2 minutes. I got smoke a cigarette a day. I don't even smoke glass or black. But we did break structure right over here on the hourly chart. So I will not be against the shorts, and I will be cautious of the higher time frame resistance, high traffic area we're pushing into. So let's see who we got. We got the London. So what we need to do is go back and right now what we're gonna do is go back. Right here, we're gonna do is go back. Well, well, well. And I want to see what kind of movement each session did specifically. Kind of helped me put me in the right mind frame, I guess, when I'm framing my trades, because I kind of take into consideration what each session did. And from there, I kind of continue to build that picture. So London created a high or a lower high in the market, gave you a lower low. The New York session gave you a retracement of that London push down. So now we're going to see, does the Asian session come back to retest that London high, or does it come back to break through that London low? Let's see what we're going to get currently. What we want to see is what price action does when it gets back to this New York high. Currently, price action is bullish. So we are not afraid of the bass. But if it shorts, because we broke structure on the hourly, came back to the support. If we break the support, then we got a nice little range to the downside. What the hell? What's going on?
Hey, how are you?
Pat. But trying to catch some of these people, looking at AU right now, trying to see what potentially snatch out the market. On the higher time frames, price action is bullish, and on the lower time frames, we're trying to see if we're going to break this lower time frame structural high from the NY session and continue to make high highs and high lows. We do know from the higher time frames there's a lot of resistance above. Where we can see from all the way back from earlier in July, like last week, price action created a high, it pulled back, and then it pushed back into that high zone. Now, when we push into this high zone last week, we came down and created this low. When we push into the zone again, price action was only able to push down this far. So what we're trying to see is there enough, I guess, demand at this point in the market to push price action higher, or are we going to start stalling out at some of this resistance up at the top where we stalled out at before and come back to the downside? That's what we want to see, what's going to happen. That trade I was looking at last night when you was on, this is what happened to it, which I kind of expected because this happened before when I was trading, and I thought I saw it. It was something like right over in here. Yeah, we manipulated during this is the Asian session, the price action. Yeah, no, that's not it, because I thought we were gonna break, but whatever happened, it happened before, and I've seen this happen before, so that's why I had the stops way up there on that little position I had. Because I figured price action could manipulate these highs, like fake like it's gonna keep going higher and then come back down. So I did catch this short later on when I got back to the charts, when I was looking at the charts, because I saw price action push up. I'm gonna zoom in so you can see it with the candles. If we were gonna continue bullish, this was the high we needed to break, and we needed to stay above that high. So once I saw price action push above that high and then pull back and then try to go again, it didn't break this high And we didn't stay above this high. So when it came back down and started breaking these lows, I was looking to sell.
Okay.
And as soon as it broke the low over here, it broke the low, then it pulled back a little bit. I was in there. And I don't know if I dropped it in the group chat when I first got in. No, I put it in after I had moved stops in profit,
Mm-hmm.
and I took some profits off. So this was way later in the trade. I think like by the time I woke up, so it's like probably I got in Asian session. So this right here is like New York session this morning.
Okay.
So yeah, for the night, we're looking to see what we're gonna do once we get up here. If we break above here, we're looking to see what happens right here. And then let's see what happened on that NAS.
Did you trade patterns? So that M, did you see the M forming and knew it was going to go down?
About this right here?
No, in Australian dollar.
On our trade. Oh, the last one.
Yeah.
What M pattern?
At the top, the peak top that you showed me before.
Okay, what about it?
Um,
This right here?
see that M that formed?
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice it and that's why you knew it was going down? Or
No, I knew it was going down because we broke, like I said, if we were going to continue to go higher, if price
Mhm.
action was going to continue to push higher, it would have broke above this high and it would have stayed above that high and it would pull back and it would have kept going higher and it would kept going higher. This price action right here would have never happened if it was going higher. It would have just kept going up. So when it pulled back right here and it was going to go higher, it would have kept going up. And when I was
Okay.
looking for that, that didn't happen. So that's how I knew when we started to break the low right here, we was going to continue to drop.
Okay.
And the move that I was looking to happen from right here was now going to potentially happen. It just happened later.
Okay.
Like I said, when I came back to it during New York session, when I woke up to go to work this morning, that's where we was at. So when I came down, when I seen, price action stalling out backing over here, yeah, I
You
was out of
got
that
out.
thing. Yeah, I took some profits off and then I had trailing stops back up here and I got out when it pushed up during the New York session.
Okay. I have a question. That little consolidation area
Right
before,
here
no, up,
at the top,
yeah, right here. Yeah.
right
Right
here.
below, yeah, there.
Mm-hmm.
How do you stay confident when you see something like that? Don't you just want to hop out? Or you
Um,
just know it's going down?
It depends. It depends on a lot of it depends on how the week is going. A lot of
Mhm.
it depends on where I got in and what time I got in. So a lot of my trades with the Asian session, I base them around 8 o'clock at night and 9 o'clock at night. So if I got in around my prime time where I want to get in, I have a lot more confidence than I would if I got in the New York session. So
Okay.
on the New York session when it came down and started chop, yeah, I would have hopped out. But in the
Okay.
Asian session when it came and chop, I know how the Asian session moves, so I feel a lot more confident taking a trade from over here than I would taking the short from right here. As
Okay.
soon as it came down and I would start seeing these bullish candles close, and I was expecting it to push through the support, I would have hopped out, thinking it was about to reverse because we already bullish at this point. We got a high, low, higher, high. This could be the new higher low, push price higher. So this could be going to make your new higher high. So this would be the 15-minute chart, switching from bearish, if
Mhm.
price action is following. This is your high from the London, came down, London created the low. New York session gave you the lower high. If we were going bearish, price action would be coming this way, making new lower low. But as it is right now, we sitting on top of support from the 1 hour time frame,
Okay.
and we pushing back up. So let's delete that. So this would necessarily now be what you're looking for. Price action pushed up, created a high, pulled back and respected this low, and now we're going to create that new high.
Okay. So you use the day chart,
Huh?
and the 4 hour. You use the day chart and the weekly, the day chart and the 4 hour just to get your support and resistance, or
Yes.
just to figure out the trend.
Yeah, to get the support and the resistance and to get the trend.
Okay.
See, like this is the 15 minutes. I don't know which way the trend going. I mean, obviously it's pushing bullish right now, but
Yeah.
when it's so zoomed in, you can't really tell, especially with
Yeah.
this looking like consolidation from the left. So when
Hmm.
you jump out to the 1 hour, you get a little bit more information.
Yeah. You see
This
that
price
it's
action, yeah, this price action from back here is bullish.
Okay,
We
got it.
potentially gonna continue bullish. So then when you hop out to the 4 hour and the daily, you get even more action. You know what I'm saying? We bullish, bullish, bullish. We starting to slow down that momentum. You know
Okay.
you're starting to slow down the momentum because you got these big candles here, and then the candles are starting to get smaller. So you got a
Okay.
lot of momentum coming from down here, a lot of momentum, slow down the momentum. So as you come from the higher time frames down, you start to build that story. So now start on the weekly. The weekly tells a different story. Now we bearish on the weekly.
Yeah.
And what we can see is price action is pulling back to resistance. Last time we was at this price point, price action pushed down. Now we're back at this price point again. What is it going to do? Is it going to keep going up to the next resistance,
Mm.
or is it going to pull back down? So that's why I
Okay.
start from up there and I start to build that story and I come to see, okay, does it look like there's a lot of gas in the market right here? Definitely had the gas. We had the momentum, we had the volume, we had everything. We pushing up big bullets. So if you got in from down here, you made a lot of money just pushed straight up. But
Mhm.
if you got in back over here, then price pushed up, then it pushed up again, then it came all the way back down to your entry potentially, then pushed all the way up, then it started to come back down. So it looks it's a lot choppier right here than it is right here. So based off the weekly, we pushing back into that resistance area, which is right here. This is where it's at on the weekly. When you bump out, it's at that same spot. So you mark that up, come down to the daily, and you say, okay, do it look like the candles are getting ready to push through that level, or do it look like the candles are about to reject from that level? And
Mm.
then, you take the analysis off, you say, okay, well, we was big bullish, bearish, big bullish, bearish. We're starting to slow down as far as candle size. So now we want to go down to the 4 hour and see, does it look like price action is going to keep going bullish? What you can see is the trend is bullish now on the 4 hour.
Mhm.
We just made a new high. So
Mhm.
theoretically, you should be waiting for the new higher low. This could be the higher low, but we don't know for sure.
Mm.
So, you pop that analysis back up. We got the last higher low outlined in black that push you to the highs, outlined in black. And then on the 1 hour, when you come down, you got the support that price action bounced off of and started pushing back bullish, outlined in white. So then you continue to build that story to say, okay, on the weekly, we was pushing into a resistance, outlined in the gray in the background. On
Mhm.
the daily, we was pushing into the resistance, outlined in the gray in the background. On the 4 hour, we had just made a higher high. We need to see the higher low to push market higher. This potentially could be the higher low, but we don't have enough evidence just yet to say price action is going to continue to go bullish. So we got to wait on the buys. If you're looking for the sell side, you say, okay, we got a couple strikes against us. On the weekly, we pushing into resistance strike one. On the daily, we pushing into resistance strike two. So what would I need to see on the lower time frame to say, okay, price action is going to sell? So if you're looking for the shorts, you got up here, price action melted. You're looking for the shorts, price action got up here and it melted. So theoretically, if you want to short, your best opportunity is to wait until price action gets way back up here and then try to sell it from up there.
Mm.
But if you know how to read the lower time frames, then you can build that story to say, okay, price action might not make it way up there. I can short it from right here. Because on the lower time frames, we melted from right there.
Mm.
But you gotta let price action get all the way back up there first. Like right now, we trying to get in too early, just because you see this candle start to be big bearish. And it's
Mhm.
almost 8 o'clock. Just because you see this candle start to be big bearish, don't necessarily mean it's gonna end that way. We still got 3 minutes before that candle close.
So if you were going to go in for a quick long, that 1 hour, that 1 hour resistance, what would you be looking for?
If I wanted to long take a buy on this,
Yeah.
let me see. I would buy. I had a level identified where I wanted to buy from. I think it's this one. Um, this is also another support area.
Mhm.
And if it's going to melt, I want to see it break through this support and respect this level. And if it does stay above that level, then I would buy from down here.
So you don't buy or sell unless it's in one of your zones.
Yeah, if it's at where I'm
Oh.
looking from, then yeah, I'm getting in for sure. That's another thing that builds that confidence.
So you
Because
wouldn't hop in right now for a long. where it
No,
is now. Got it.
no, because you in
See,
the
that's
middle.
what I do sometimes.
You in the middle. You ain't bouncing off nothing. You just in the middle, you know,
Yeah.
pump faking. This
Okay.
still can go up. The candle's still open, so you still got an hour. So if in 1 minute and 48 seconds this candle closes this way, then that can possibly give me an indication that we could be getting ready to come back down. So when I bump down to the 15, if I see big candles start to come to the downside, then we possibly, coming back to retest this support.
Mhm.
Then I want to wait to see what price action does when it gets down here. I would buy from up here too, from right here. If it came down here and stopped right here, I would buy from there.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's one of my problems then, because I kind of just, if I see it's bullish, I'll just jump in wherever and try and pick a good spot to
I
where I
mean,
don't get
it
stopped out.
depends on where you just do that at. Because if you
Yeah.
just hopped in because you saw that this was bullish and you came down to support area looking left, then yeah, you could have took this buy. I would have hopped in based off of this. It came down and it stopped right here, then it pushed up and pulled back and didn't break this low. I would have hopped in as soon as we turned back bullish on the 15-minute or the 5-minute. So on the 5-minute, you see the impulse here and you pull back and then break this low. I would have hopped in right up in here and just rode it. Put stops up under here at first, and then once we continue to push higher, I'll pull the stops up to here, and I'll eventually just start trailing them.
Okay.
So it depends on where you try to just hop in. If you've been reading and watching your charts, like I
Mhm.
mark these up and then I'll go to work and then I'll peek back. And if we at one of these levels, then I'll get active and I'll drop the chart in the group.
Mhm.
And I'll be able to do the explanation on it right then. But if I mark these up the same way every time, I would hope, people will be able to kind of understand. Well, not these ones, but these ones, yeah. Yeah. So now what we got is 8 o'clock. We know momentum like to come into the market at 8 o'clock, so we're gonna see what's about to happen.
Okay.
Theoretically, at this point in time, let's see, 30 minutes. Yeah, we got that bearish close, so this will now be our Asian high right now for the moment. And I mark these levels just based off experience, just from watching the charts. So I started to formulate my trade idea based off of that. So if I'm identifying this is my Asian high, I know in the back of my mind, 100% what has to come next is the Asian low. So
Mhm.
now I want to see how far price action drops from here bearishly before it prints another bullish candle. So
Okay.
that's the next thing I'm looking for right here. So if we come down here and we start to produce bullish candles right up in here, I'm buying. If we
Okay.
come down here and we still bearish and we still bearish and we still bearish and we ain't printing no bullish candle yet, and the tap all the way down here, I'm buying.
By bullish, you mean like
A blue
an
candle
an
right now.
engulfing candle, right? An
Any
engulfing bullish.
a bullish candle, blue candles are my
Oh, you don't care about the size of the candle, you just want to see a
uh
bullish candle?
it depends. I do
Oh.
care about the size because if I was trying to get in right here, my
Mm-hmm.
idea would be I need to close bullish, and then the next candle needs to break the high, then I'll get in.
Oh, okay.
So
Got
right
it.
here, size didn't really matter, but so necessarily strategy because if you say we close bullish here and we broke the high here on the 15-minute, you break. I mean on the 5-minute, you break in structure. So let me go back. I'm gonna mark it for you on the 15-minute. That way you know what I'm talking about
Mhm.
when we go down. So we're looking at this area right here. So as it would have broke the high, I would have been in position right there. And then on the 5-minute, we pushed up, we came back bearishly, and then we'd have been breaking the high. So we pushing, pull back, pushing, creating bullish structure from down here. The price action pushed up here, came back, created the low, and then took off again. We pulling back now, so now we're gonna see what price action is getting ready to do. Now this right here is the boring part of trading. Once you get to this point, and you sit back and waiting, and you watching, you
Mhm.
got your zones marked up, and you say, okay, price action get here, I know what I'm gonna do. Price action gets here, I know what I'm gonna do. If it come down
Mhm.
here, I know what I'm gonna do. This is the boring part. This is when a lot of people start losing
Mhm.
because they get impatient. They start, like you
That's
were saying, their
that's
candle
me.
size or this, and that. So if you was trading based off candle size right now, big bearish, you in the shorts simply because of the rejections from up here. But what you got to realize is this candle closed with no wick to the bottom. So the next candle had no range to continue down. Now it could push down, but if you see candles close with no wick at the bottom, 9 times out of 10, the very next candle is going to go the opposite way. It might not go, very much the opposite way, but it's, going to close. It's going to go back bullish since this is bearish. And the same thing for the opposite way, like this one, bullish with no wick at the top.
Yeah.
No wick at the top. The next candle, bearish. Bearish, no wick at the bottom, bullish.
Got it.
And a lot of that will come from watching the charts and being around and seeing what happens when certain scenarios pop up. So the more you read your charts, the more you'll be able to know what's about to happen. So what we're gonna do is it's alert time. If we break above here or a wick through here, I want to know. And then if we come down here, I want to know. I want to know your name. Yo. And then we're gonna go to that NAS. All right. So this is where price action was during the Asia session right here. 4 hours. So I'll show you how I would have traded NAS if I was watching it and trying to get active on it last night. This would have been Asian session open. So this would have been a time I would have came to the charts. And what I would have saw was higher time frame price action was bullish. We pushed into resistance, started coming back bearish. This was the last higher low on the 4 hour that pushed price higher, and now we're closing below. So now on the 4 hour chart and the 1 hour chart, we're making bearish structure. So we got the high, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So now we're coming back to retest that previous lower high on the, we can do it on 4 hour. So we can delete this. And we delete this. And what we'll do is draw up the resistance right here, these two bullish candles, top of the wick to the body.
Why did you delete them? Because they're no longer support?
Just because I was going to draw them over.
Oh, okay.
I didn't really need them. These I'm outlining what's important right now.
Oh, okay.
So this is the resistance on the 4 hour. And then this is the support on the 4 hour. So what we got to keep in mind is price action was bullish. Now it's retracing bearishly. So at any point in time, price action could resume big bullish like it was back in over here. So to keep ourselves from getting smacked and getting there early, thinking price action is going to continue back bearish, we look for levels that where price action pushed us to the downside. We look for levels where price action paused for a second before it continued to go bearish. And as price action went down here to the support and started to pull back, you don't have that until you get right up in here. Right over here is where you see the bullish candles start to print. So as price action came down here and printed this bullish candle and started to retrace, my mind would have said, okay, where's the level? Where's the level? Bam. So I'm expecting this retracement to come all the way back up here because at this point, this is the resistance. So I know at this point on NAS, we got the resistance right up here. And then since this is so close together, I'll take these candles right here, and then all these bullish candles right here. And then on the downside, this is the support. Going from this candle body close, all the way down to the last bearish candle wick. So that'll be your support zone. These candles below here grab liquidity to push price higher. So that's why we don't mark the bullish candles wick down at the bottom.
Okay.
So then down to 15, we still waiting. We're waiting for price action to actually push all the way back into this level. Now, seeing as how we have broke these structures on the 15-minute chart, we have now created a support on the 15-minute chart as well. We didn't create that support because of these structures over here, but what we did was we shifted the structure. So as we were making lower lows and lower highs right here, at this point, we shifted and created a higher high potentially a new higher low with this bearish candle, and now a new higher high. So what we can say, or what we start to look at is, okay, well, price action is big bullish back into this 4-hour resistance, and we potentially just created a new higher low in the 15-minute chart. If this support holds up, so if price action pulls back down and stays on top of this level, we got good chances for it to push through this resistance right over here because it's already pushing bullish.
Okay.
And when you go down or go back to your higher time frame to see if that makes sense, you see, okay, we got big bullish candles pushing back up to here. We know we could sell off again, but we also could push through. So that's why you have to plan for both. And then you sit back and wait. So if we was to come back here and not start printing big bearish candles below this level, I would be willing to take a risky long position. First TP will be right there, and then stops will be up under there because I know there's a potential for price action to pull all the way back down to this level. Theoretically, this is a higher success rate than this trade right up here.
I mean, if it were to go all the way down there and then shoot up?
And then shoot up, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because you would be retesting the lows at that point. See, this is where price action took off from. So theoretically, what you want to see is price action come back down to that level so you can take off again. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you got down here last time, you came down here and stopped, and you took off this way. So now, if you run it down there again, theoretically, that's what you're looking for, to come all the way back down to push up higher. Like I said, you can take this trade. Wouldn't be wrong with this trade because you got support established. So price action could pull back into support and then push up again. But if it comes all the way back down here, you definitely want to take this trade, because we didn't break support. We stayed at this level, and price action took off to the top side. So that's how I would play NAS for the Asian session tonight. I'm gonna actually line this all the way up and see how it looks. So we'll start to read. Let me just say, okay, so London session consolidated. We broke out during New York. New York created the high, created the low, and then it started to pull back. The Asian session continued some of the pullback into resistance. Now we're looking to see, does the Asian session carry us up through that resistance, or does it, only bring us to that resistance for price action to come back down?
Okay. Your charts are really detailed.
Yeah, I try to do a little bit.
Yeah, they look really good.
I've been a lot of people don't put this much stuff on their charts because they say it clouds it up, but this helps me build the story. Like I say, if I have to walk away from this, I can come back real easily, look at what I already put down, and I can make a decision like real quick on what I think is about to happen. Just based off, seeing this level, I would say, okay, I think this might break through, so I got this other level identified down here. But yeah, what I do see is if this is the Asian low, this low is failing to break through this, if this is the Asian low, this bullish little push right here is failing to break through highs looking left. So I would be somewhat expecting price action to pull back and even break through this level. So I probably wouldn't take this trade. I would actually have to all the way sit back and wait for price action to sit and push back here and then get into the trade. But I would expect this to potentially come all the way back down here before going back bullish, just because of how these candles are starting to produce on the chart. They don't look big and like they got, the energy. These candles had a lot of energy, a lot of momentum, a lot of life in them. They pushed up quick. These ones right here, slow, push, pull back, push, pull back, push, pull back. It don't look like what I need to see to get up through there. And we are trading during the Asian session. This don't normally, I don't know how this normally moves in the Asian session. So this might be how price action,
It's usually pretty small.
yeah. So that might be it until the London session. And then throughout the London session, you get cracking again in the New York session. So in the morning time, if all we've done is come here and stay right up in here and still, ain't really necessarily broke that high, I would potentially look for a liquidity grab first and then go short. But to make sure I don't get faked out, if I wanted to go bullish with it, I will let the liquidity grab happen. I'll wait for a pullback and then I'll wait to see if it comes back bullish.
Okay.
Then I'll start getting in for the buys.
Okay.
So that's what, if don't nothing happen tonight, this is what I'll look for in the New York session in the morning time.
Okay.
Yeah, the buys and sales at this level is kind of tricky at this point, simply because we don't necessarily know what the market makers want to do, how this is going to go. Now you can get details from looking at your news, following the I think this NAS 100 is the stocks, and then US 30 is like the tech world. I think that's how it works. You got the S&P
Yeah.
100. I think that's how it works. So if you look at how how the stocks are doing, how the market's going right now, it looks kind of bearish on the higher time frames, but if it potentially break above this level, then it could be starting to go back bullish. So there's a lot of little behind the scenes details and things you can start to identify and look for, or that'll help your trade idea / psychology build a little bit stronger. So like this, what I would have done was came over to FOREX Factory and peeped out and see if there's any major AUD news. And as you look right here, we got CPI at 930. So I know I ain't too willing to just hop into a trade right now, because I know at 930 the market could go nuts. It
Okay.
can push up, it can push down, it can go, it can do whatever, just based off what the news is going to do now. What I will say is price action is already bullish. We are nowhere near the support, and we're getting ready to break through this first resistance on the 15 minutes. So the news could, push us through this resistance right up here. Whereas what we couldn't get through before, the news, the influence could take us where we're trying to go. So let's see. I need a new chair. This one got squeaky on me. Greater than forecast is good for the currency change in price of goods and services purchased by consumers. So if over in the Australian market, if a lot of people are buying stuff and paying good money, it's a change in price of goods and services purchased by consumers. Let me see. Yeah. So if the price of stuff is fluctuating over in the Australian market, if it's going down, I guess that would be better for the customers so they can buy more. Because if it's going up, if the price of everything's going up, then people are going to spend less. So then less money is being spent. So if the numbers for this are good, then we're looking to see if price action could push up. So that would mean the previous number was 2.1, and then the forecast is 1.9. So they was thinking the price of goods and services purchased by consumers was, what was the one before that? So, figuring stuff out like this is what can help you build insight on where your trade potentially is going or could go. So if we break above this 15-minute level, it can stay above. I'll potentially be looking to buy at some point, depending on how it forms, even though you are pushing to that resistance. So I would probably let that news play out first, though, because you risky at this point. So we still got the Timers. I want to go back and see how the rest of the world doing. The other charts we got marked up. I think Bitcoin gonna come back to this midline and probably drop again. The other thing I know about Bitcoin, Bitcoin moves in channels a lot. So if you were patient enough to wait for its channel to develop, you can have a real crucial quick strategy on Bitcoin. What I mean by channel is this point. At this point, we all bullish.
Yeah.
Making higher highs and higher lows. So all you know is you wait for price action to start making higher highs and higher lows. Then at a good, support level, making a higher low, buy and just let it ride until it breaks through your channel. Like right up here. So at this point, right up at the top, we started making lower lows and lower highs. Price action pull back, catch that short, or even right over here, catch that short and just watch it push through. And then once it breaks out of that channel to the top side, start making high highs, get out. Because if you got in way up here, you can catch a whole bunch of profit from right there. And then by the time they got back to the top side of that channel, just hop out. So I'm gonna be looking at that coming up here in the near future. Bitcoin, GJ. We were looking for a price action to open bullish. It went bullish. We went into that 4-hour resistance and pulled back. We broke structure on the 1 hour, and now we're coming back to that 4-hour resistance again. So what we want to see, do these candles right over here, do they start producing and formulating like we did back in over here? So now at this point, it's a waiting game to see if we get big bullish candles above this zone and then get a pullback and catch a buy up to here. Go above, get a pullback and take profit right up there. Or if we keep fumbling around like we did back in over here, might get a little liquidity grab and watch it melt. So this would be the point right up here, catch that short on GBP, JPY. Higher time frames are, this is funky. Yeah, this would be a tough spot to catch a trade in. I would definitely look for that liquidity grab and then watch it, see if it melt. To be able to take that trade, your stops would have to be way up there because to make it worth it. Let's see on GU. GU, we're looking for price to get way up there. We close above. Yeah, this might go back bearish. Came all the way back down to support. If we don't break these highs, this might be coming back down this way. That's what we'll be paying attention for right there on GU. We'll put an alert. If we break, then we know it's on to the top side. Down here, if we come back below like this point, yeah, we know it's on and cracking back to the support and even further on down. So yeah, and then let me see what the GJ is it worth it? Alert right there, and then to the downside. We broke structure here, pull all the way back. If we go below here, then we'll be ready to short GJ. Below there, we got support right there. So potential TP1, TP2, and then we down there.
You trade these as well? Or do you just
If it line up like I wanted to, if this alert go off and price action stall out down here and then come back and retest and don't continue to go back up at this point, yeah, I would take that short. If we came down here and started breaking through support right here, I would short to here first and then let the runner come all the way back down here if it continues. Yeah, I used to trade GJ like I trade AU. I just trade GJ every day.
how long are you usually in a trade when you trade Aussie dollar?
Like it depends on where I get in.
Um,
Sometimes I'm looking to hold. I know when the Asian session comes open, you are starting the daily candle, the beginning of the daily candle.
mhm.
So at the start of the Asian session, this is the beginning of this bullish candle over here on AU. And so far, since that candle has started, it has come out to push to potentially create its top wick before it goes bearish, or it's just coming out and going big bearish. But what you have to notate is if this is going to go big bullish, then it doesn't have really a bottom wick. Let's see how it joins. Let's go to 4 hours. Let's go to the 1 hour. So from the time the Asian session open, the bullish candle on the daily time frame doesn't have a bottom wick. So that will always leave a point in the back of your mind before the Asian session tomorrow. When are we going to make that bottom wick? Or are we going to make that bottom wick? So you know now, if price action get up and go crazy right up in here, at some point during the London or the New York, potentially we can have a retracement to come back down if we go, bullish, or if we break off right here and create that bottom wick and then push back bullish. So there's a lot of different ways to read the charts, especially using support and resistance. You just got to be able to maintain that story from the higher time frames to the lower time frames and put it all together. Yeah.
Yeah, this has been very helpful. I have to go back and mark up my chart because they are nowhere this detailed, and I don't have an area where, well, I do have a support and resistance zone, but like I don't have areas like on your chart where you know what you're gonna do if it hits here or if it hits here or
Yeah.
if it hits here. And that
Oh,
would be very helpful.
trust me, it does take time.
Yeah.
I started doing this in 2019, October, November time. So it does take time to get to this point. I'm trying to get to up here where I can show you how I used to mark up when I first came in the game. All the way to the bottom, show you how the chart used to look back in the day. I started this group chat in 2020. So it's tons and tons and tons of data and videos and pictures and, a whole bunch of stuff. Let me just pick one from, this is June of 2021. No, that's not far enough back because these could look really close to that.